I want to share with you the story about the biggest mistake I ever made in the classroom. It is my biggest regret. And it's obviously not a story that I enjoy telling, but I learned a very valuable lesson from this story, so I want to share it with you today. In my third year of teaching, I had a very challenging classroom behavior-wise. And in particular, I had one student, for the story's sake, we'll name him Alan. I had one student, and Alan required a lot of attention. He required a lot of time, and he required a lot of patience in regards to the behaviors that he exhibited in the classroom. At the same time, Alan had the biggest heart, probably the biggest heart out of all the students in my classroom. I loved Alan, but he did require a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of patience, and could be frustrating sometimes. I'm sure you've all had those types of students in your class that you love to death, but they do require a lot from you. And I remember one day, it was a Friday. I remember it like it was yesterday. One day, it had been a particularly challenging day with Alan, and about halfway through the day, we were transitioning from one subject to another, and I remember telling my students, all right, boys and girls, I need you to go ahead and put away your math books, and we're going to move into a writing activity. And I remember Alan in the front row. I had said, all right, we're going to do a writing activity, and Alan went, And at that point, my patience was done. I'm not proud to say that, but I didn't have anything left, and I did not handle it in the right way. So Alan, when I said, we're going to do a writing activity, Alan went, and I went, and Alan went. It's said that there are those times in your life when your life flashes before your eyes. In that moment, my life didn't flash before my eyes, but Alan's life flashed before my eyes. Because I knew in that instant, I had just become that teacher. That teacher that every single one of us has. That teacher that we can always remember that didn't believe in us, that embarrassed us, that called you out or did something to make you feel bad. If we stop to think about that for a second, it probably wouldn't take you too long to remember who that teacher is. And I realized in that moment I had just become that teacher. And I took a couple steps to my left as if to continue with my lesson, and I stopped. And I walked back over and I stood in front of Alan. And I looked to the entire class and I said, boys and girls, what I just did was not okay. What I just did was wrong. And I looked at Alan and I said, Alan, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Will you forgive me? And Alan, with that heart of gold, he just looked up at me with sweet eyes and said, yes. And I said, thank you. I'm very sorry. And I continued with my lesson. I have no idea what I said. I have no idea how I even made it through the day, because all I kept thinking about was what I had just done. But somehow I made it through the day, and the bell rang, and I dismissed my students for the weekend. And needless to say, it ruined my weekend. Because all weekend I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? And I remember that Sunday afternoon I had gone over to my parents' house for a weekend visit. And I remember recounting what had happened to my father. And I remember when I finished the story, I told my dad, Dad, I'm that teacher to Alan. And I'll never forget what my dad told me. He looked at me and he said, possibly. But you may also be the first adult who has ever apologized to him. And that's the lesson that I learned from this, and that I would hopefully encourage you with today, that when you blow it, when you make a mistake with your students, and notice I didn't say if you blow it or if you make a mistake, because you will. When you blow it with your students, seek their forgiveness. Because there is power in forgiveness and forgiving someone, but there is equal power in seeking someone's forgiveness, because there's nothing worse than somebody who doesn't admit when they make a mistake. And maybe that teacher in your life, that's what it was, that teacher who made mistakes but would never own it. When you make a mistake with your students, if you make a mistake, and I pray that it's not a mistake like I made, but when you make a mistake with your students, own it. And seek your students' forgiveness. Show them that you're a real person. You're human, someone who makes mistakes. Because in Alan's case, I believe I am a teacher that he remembers. It is my prayer that I am a teacher that he remembers, like my dad said, for more than one reason. Yeah, I blew it. I lost my patience, and I said something, I did something that I should not have done. But I also hope that he remembers that I sought his forgiveness and I did everything in my power to make it right. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for all that you do with your students. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You won't be perfect. And when you're not, own it, seek your students' forgiveness. Thanks for watching.